Welcome to the Game Changing Work Show with Veronica and Roxana. And we have special guests today, Kristine Glein, woohoo, from GCImpact. Now, today is a special nugget, soul intelligence. I've been really excited about it. I don't know about you, Roxana, but this is a really, really cool topic that a lot of people, I noticed I've been posting a lot. I don't know if you saw, Kristine, a lot of interest around this because we are right now. This is a subject and a topic that most people are questioning or wanting to discover in themselves. And I love how you're helping leaders with that. Now, before we actually jump into the topic, tell us about yourself.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm very excited to be here. I love talking all things about game-changing work. So in terms of how I came about doing this kind of game-changing work, I was a turnaround specialist in corporate America for most of my life. Most of my career I spent in higher ed or higher ed technology. And ed tech, all that kind of good stuff, and really working with companies to help, figure out what people, process, and technology needed to move and flow in order for the business to meet their objectives. And in about 2009, I was compelled to get a coaching credential, which I did, but I just kept using it with all of the companies that I worked with. And I also learned a really incredible technique that helps me get people tapped into their soul intelligence a number of years ago. And so now I'm really feeling like the time is right to bring that forth in a lot of the coaching and consulting work that I'm doing. A coaching credential, which I did. But I just I hear myself. Don't I sound pretty good? I think you must have gone live on LinkedIn at the same time. Like it was working, right?
Yeah, so here's the thing. I'm a LinkedIn Live virgin, everyone. And but here's the thing. When we do the restream and all the other social platforms, we have to go in and actually see who's on LinkedIn because they don't show us here on restream. So I'm checking to see who we have. And by the way, we do have a YouTube channel. You can subscribe on that and ask any questions as I'm going to bring it back to Kristine since I interrupt her flow of thought.
It's totally fine. Yeah. So, I have always been focused on people development. And one of the things that I find,
and by the way, we do have a YouTube channel. You can subscribe on that.
To me again.
Ask any questions as I'm going to bring it back to Kristine since I interrupt her flow of
on the other social platforms, or no one's going to hear anything.
All right, there are people on LinkedIn right now, and I'm afraid to get in.
Okay, we're gonna
get in there. Just like anyone can just put their comments or questions in the chat and we're going to see them right here. So let's just roll with it.
Yeah, I'm not using my phone on this. Go ahead and keep talking.
All right. Well, I'm excited to know we're live and that there are people out there that are really interested in learning more about soul intelligence and what it is and how you tap into it. So obviously, we all have IQ, right? You need to be smart. You have to have mad skills and ideas. That's where everything starts. And you also have to be sensitive today as a leader, right? You have to understand, that emotional intelligence and think about how you say what you say. But what really lights people up is when they're tapped into their soul intelligence. It's probably the most important intelligence that we have and that we possess, but most people don't know how to tap into it. But once you do, when you are fully aligned with your mission, your vision, your values, and your purpose, and you feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself, that's when people are truly ignited and motivated intrinsically and will run through the fire for you. So a lot of the work that I do focuses on getting people to be able to lead from that place so that they can manifest whatever outcomes they're looking for in themselves and in their teams. Mm-hmm. So is that a good overview?
Yeah. Now, So mostly when it comes to soul intelligence, people go through it personally for themselves. Mm-hmm. What was that journey like for you?
Well, obviously I've been on a quest for quite some time in terms of figuring out who I am, what lights me up, and what makes me happy. And one of the things that I found was when people meet or exceed their own expectations, that's what really lights me up. So I think I've been working on, discovering what my coaching practice was going to be about for a very long time. And I've been doing it and practicing it inside companies. And now I'm doing it for myself, working with multiple companies all at the same time. So in terms of my own journey, it's been a big discovery. It included things, like energy work and figuring out, focusing on heart-centered leadership. And what does that mean? And how do you, all my 25 years worth of corporate experience also has translated into practical things for people as well. Like, how do you manage up? Nobody ever teaches you that. That's like the School of Hard Knocks stuff that you have to figure out on your own and skin your knees. So a lot of the things that I share are both practical in the physical as well as in the spiritual. And I heard a great quote this morning. It just really made me happy, that you have to shine your light from within rather than worrying about the spotlight shining on you from the outside, right? So when you are all aligned in here and you know who you are, and you know you're sharing your talents and your gifts, and you've put your energy into the right role, that's when you really light up.
Absolutely. I love that. And it's like hearing you talk about it, it reminds me of Stephen Covey's book, Seven Habits for High Performing People.
Mm-hmm.
And it connects exactly to that, to the fact that clearly there's the link between productivity and personal mission, and knowing what your personal mission is. Because having that and visualizing it and knowing exactly what you're moving towards, that's what's going to make you focus on the important things, on the things that matter to you on the long run, rather than you getting distracted on the urgent or not important stuff. So it's when I read that and hearing you talk about it, it makes so much sense. It's just that we don't learn about it. I mean, not in school, and very few people talk about that. So
and we don't even learn about getting clarity, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So how do we tap into that kind of soul intelligence, as you call it? Because it's clearly very much connected to emotional intelligence, also IQ. They're interconnected. They're not separate entities or islands.
It's like multidimensional. You need all these dimensions.
Yes.
Yep. Well, one of the first things I do is actually use a tool that I know we all love, right? Which is actually the Game Changing Index, right? That is at least a starting point to be able to show people where they naturally invest their energy and what kind of work really ignites them and lights them up. And so that's really like sort of the base platform when I start working with people on how to develop that, because that'll give you some idea on the types of activities and work that do naturally give you energy and excitement, right? And that can kind of help somebody figure out, if they're not sure where to go or what they want to do, how they might be able to tweak that. So that's probably the first part, right?
Hey, we have Mitch Goldstein. What's up, Mitch? Haven't seen you in a long time. And any of you, those that are on LinkedIn, since I can't look right now, hello. If you have any comments or anything to share, or questions on the topic of soul intelligence, please do. The more, the merrier.
Yeah. And so once we figure out, where you naturally invest your energy and what naturally ignites you, then we can kind of look at where you are in your career and what you're doing and how you might be able to make some shifts. And then also look at your team, right? And how you can ignite them, because that's really where the power is, right? Once you know you, it's about being able to inspire and motivate others to reach that piece too, right? That's where we get to force multiply. And, Roxana, you were talking about how people, really need to kind of focus. Like if 2020 did nothing for us, it got us to focus within, right? To focus on what's important. And so everybody got this collective time out. And I do think it's kind of opened the floodgates a little bit for people to start looking at what really ignites me, what is my passion, and what is my sole purpose. And seeing a lot of reports where people, especially millennials, are leaving jobs to do something that makes them feel like they're more aligned with their passion.
And it's not about the money, because, and I have a lot of conversations, me being in agile transformations. And so I go to a lot of different companies, and you have the one side of the people that have families. And so their security, right? That's what really drives and motivates people to make their decisions, might be around that. But the younger generation may not be at the point where they have children, and they don't have to worry about that. So they can gravitate towards what really, really connects them in their soul, in their purpose, and what makes them passionate about. And that's the new workforce coming in. So think about this, folks, right? How important it is for those of you that may or not be in that situation, and your leaders driving a culture in an organization. You're going to have a lot of competition there to try to get these people.
Yeah. And that is what's going on, right? People are also starting to look at their benefit plans and deciding, what can we do to attract top talent, and what can we do to keep our top talent, for that very reason. It's really interesting. A number of institutions like the University of Michigan and some others are getting like Deepak Chopra to run a course on the importance of your passion and your purpose. So if that's not starting to bring, this quality into the mainstream, I don't know what, right? What is going to do it?
I mean, Simon Sinek is blowing up all the social media and everyone out there. I mean, people like yourself, people like us, it keeps multiplying. Now, me coming from the Agilist world, right? We almost felt like we were just like this small little bunch of people that believed in it, and everyone else kind of was different. Now, I don't see that world anymore like that. It's become more common. It's not as unique in a conversation.
For sure.
And that's huge.
So it's part of the new normal, as we're visiting this new normal. That's the new part.
That is it. That is
people start talking about well-being and the connection between well-being and high performance, and we're getting more and more about that in corporations, which is something that we didn't think possible before in the old normal.
Yeah. Now, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, in talking with CEOs, I've been hearing from them that, who doesn't want an entire company full of people who are lit up from the inside, intrinsically motivated, and are willing to run through the fire, right? So everybody wants that.
Mitch says normal's not a thing. I hear you, because I'm always, once I hear the word normal, I'm like, well, really? Because we already changed it yesterday. So I love where you're going with that. Now, soul intelligence. Let's dive into that a little bit more if you guys are interested. What have you found with some of the leaders that you're working with on, kind of connecting the dots here of how beneficial it is?
Well, I mean, like I said, the benefits are when you have people that are lit up and intrinsically motivated.
Yeah.
But how do you get this stuff out of the way so they can actually tap into it? And that's really what a lot of the work is that I do. And so it's looking at, what are these negative emotions, stuck energies, self-limiting beliefs? What are all those things that are kind of holding you back from really pursuing what you really want to pursue and living the way you want to live, let alone work, and invest your time in some place that you believe in. So I think there's a lot, that kind of goes along with that. But if you start out with the basic premise, in 7th grade science class, we learned everybody and everything is energy, right? We can agree. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm a quantum physics person, so.
So you can, right? Then it stands to reason, if everybody and everything is energy, energy can get trapped in people, places, or things, and it can certainly get trapped in your mental body, your emotional body, and your physical body. And your actual physical body really is that emotional barometer, right? You feel emotions through your body, and you actually transmute emotions through your body. It is energy in motion. That's what emotion is. And when energy gets stuck or stuffed down long enough, that's when it causes dis-ease within your body or disease. Right? It's just stuck energy. That's what typically causes anything that malfunctions in the physical body.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize the direct correlation to your health when it comes to just the concept of energy. I mean, even water, right? The water experiment. Of we're made up of 70% of water, and the words and what that can do. And we we've had conversations on that topic. So it's definitely, something important for people to start realizing. Energy comes in different ways. And what your energy level of how you're thinking in your mind versus what you're actually showing are of the same and different at the same time, because I can fake it and act like I'm happy, but my mind is actually sad, and it still impacts my body and my physical, right? Now, are you guys ready to start looking at that impact energy, or where are we on that?
I will say, because I want to kind of dovetail on what you just talked about, right? And I think Mitch has said, if you don't feel it, it's not an emotion. That's such a guy thing to say. And yes, I'm going to say that out loud.
Oh, Mitch.
But, when you talk about, when you're starting to talk about that, when you start with your ideas, that's really the electric part. Okay. So the idea, the inspiration, in your conscious mind, that's where everything starts. But where things get magnified is through the feeling. So even though you're saying one thing, if you're feeling something completely different, that's what comes in and that's what magnifies. And that's how the electromagnetic field works. And that's how things come into form. Yes, it all starts with thought. But when you think about it, we only use 5% of our cognitive mind to do everything, all the analysis, all of the stuff. That means 95% of the time that subconscious mind is churning with all kinds of emotions, feelings, thoughts, negative self-limiting beliefs, and all that stuff.
Perception is projection.
Right? And so that is one of the reasons why when I'm working with people, it's getting those things in alignment. Right? So you have, it's not only the thought and the emotion, but it's really about, if you can lead from that soul intelligence place, then you start reprogramming that subconscious mind. And there's ways to do that, believe it or not. You have to be quiet and you got to go within. So whether you do that in a meditation practice or whether you're reprogramming your subconscious right before you go to sleep, because guess what? That's when your subconscious mind is fully on, baby, when you're sleeping.
Oh, yeah.
All those crazy dreams, there's stuff in there. That's trying to come out.
Part of, getting my, clinical hypnotherapy, one of the things I love is some of those processes to actually go directly into the subconscious. So it's so powerful, and people always think it's kind of like voodoo or weird when I say that. And when they think about what you see out there, when it comes to the hypnotist, that's all for show. What it really is trying to say is you're opening up the lane of communication, going deeper to your point where most of us are cognitively just not there acknowledging. So when I say, don't think of a purple tree. Exactly. I bet you thought about a purple tree, didn't you? Because our brain doesn't actually think of negatives, it doesn't take it. So there's so much meat to that. And I love what you're doing, Kristine, on this front with leaders. And is there any, without giving away, any kind of stories you can tell about those changes of how it helped a leader or within their company to really look at things differently and in their approaches after they go through processes like this?
Well, I think probably one of the most tangible examples, I've worked with leaders where people weren't communicating at all to where now they're communicating and working together and functioning really well as a team and having real open and honest dialogue, where as before they were too afraid to say anything or do anything or be who they really are, to be authentic and to really work through challenges. But one example that's really more tangible to me, when I talked about how energy gets stuck in your physical body and causes dis-ease or disease within your body, I worked with one client in particular who leads a team, and she was stricken with shingles, and like a big challenge, and had
stress related.
Multiple other challenges related to that. And we were able to do, both the coaching sessions and the energy work to get her to a place where not only is she finally ignited by her work again, loving what she's doing, but leading her team and, achieving goals greater than she was ever able to achieve before. And it's all because we did the work and we took the time to dig through what is holding you back and what's the root cause of what's causing all of this other stuff to go haywire.
Yeah,
and it's a combination, right?
My husband had shingles, and he doesn't always listen to the wife, right? And I'm like, it's related to stress. I said, relieve your stress, what's going on, and I bet you that will go away.
Yeah, it's really interesting. But that's where Louise Hay was onto something. If you ever saw her book, Heal Your Body A to Z, she was onto it in that she knew that there are root causes to all diseases, right? So, typically it's driven, like I said, emotion helps it manifest when you stuff the emotion. But her technique was to use positive affirmations, which only works with the cognitive mind. So she was into something, but it wasn't the whole thing. And it's kind of the same thing with The Secret, right? The Secret talked about, if you remember that book, really like focusing positive thoughts and thinking about what you want to manifest. But what really brings it together is feeling it, owning it, seeing as it's done, already manifesting the outcome as if it's already happened, because that's what gets your subconscious really cranking.
They do that with professional athletes, like golfers. A lot of the coaches, they will get them to actually envision it already happening, because most of the golfers, it's mind. It's actually not physical technique. And so they're probably the best example in this. And what they'll do is they do really great when they're practicing. But when they actually go in the tournament, they cannot do what they did. They can't replicate it. And so that technique, what you're talking about, actually helps their game.
Absolutely. Because most people, what do? They tend to focus on the mistakes, right?
Yep.
I know. I play tennis on a regular basis. And if I'm always focused on that last point where I messed up, I'm going to continue to do that. So it's like training yourself to stay in that Zen, right? Whatever that state is that makes you happy. I try and focus on joyful Zen, something like that, where I'm really happy and also chill at the same time, so that I don't bring myself back to focusing on what I don't want to manifest. And it's true. Like what you focus on inside is what gets reflected outside. So, and
you don't even realize it. A lot of times, especially, going into companies and being more of that consultant, you try to always be in a good mood and show your face, right? And life happens. Things could be happening. Like I could have got off a phone with a family, thing, and something, is bad happening. I mean, my father was dying one time, and it didn't matter how I showed my face. That energy was coming out. They knew something was wrong with me.
Of course.
They did not know, like they didn't know exactly. But of course, I'm very transparent. I'm an open person, but they knew something was wrong, even though I was smiling.
And I love that approach of, when you talk about, because that's the thing, and that's the important thing that we can learn and replicate from the high performing athletes world, which we haven't been doing enough so far, where we talk about high performance, and particularly in corporations, the pressure is so big, and we put the pressure on everybody, on leaders, on teams, on everybody. And when we talk about high performance, we only talk about the performance bit. We don't talk about the full cycle of high performance, which is preparation, performance, and recovery, which are essential. And they just go like it's a full circle. Because if you're not, and what you're talking about is part of it, is this in preparation and also in recovery. How do you visualize, how you think about things, how you prepare yourself? Because visualization is a very big part of preparation, because that's when you've already seen a few scenarios that can go well or bad or whatever, but then you're ready. When you go into the real life situation, you're more ready, and it's going to be more comfortable for you because you've been there already. I mean, our minds don't really make the difference between what we think and what the reality is. That's why we connect so well with, I don't know, watching a movie, and we resonate a lot, even though that's not our reality. It's not our situation, but we can resonate because our brain connects to it.
Yeah, and it evokes emotion. Yeah, and it evokes emotion, right? That's what makes us feel connected. And I love your thought about, the full cycle. One of the techniques that I use with my clients is something I call inside out problem solving, where we actually close our eyes and you stand in a spot in the room and you focus on every possible outcome, like one outcome at a time. And then you feel it. And how does it feel? And if we do this decision and we go this direction, what am I going to feel? How's it going to be? And then I have you take a couple other scenarios that you're still vetting and feel, and how does your body resonate? And how do you feel about it? And is it the same feeling or better, to try and help people? Yes, we can use data all day long. And I'm a big data-driven decision person. But at some point, I think we also have to check in what feels right. What resonates. I think everything is a combination of art and science, your left and right brain, male dominated analytics and female focused emotion and inner driven world. So I think it's really the balance of all those things that make us feel whole and certainly help us become more conscious leaders.
It's information, and
Absolutely.
Information comes different ways. But a lot of times we only think of information external.
Yes. And so one of the things that I love about the Game Changing Index is it gives us a great foundation and place to start. Do you guys have our profiles?
We are ready and rearing
them up.
Sweet. Awesome.
There we go.
Well, Veronica, would you like to lead off with how unusual it is that you and your partner here in crime have the same profile?
So we've had other shows, if you want to check out in the library, where we dive into this deeper, but there are thousands of different combinations out there. And when Roxana and I got together and talked, we shared our profile results because we met through the GC Index. And here's the crazy thing. I was so curious, because we are so alike, and so many people don't understand the GC Index. They always compare it to psychometrics and strength find, everything else out there. But so I made it my business, and I think Roxana, you're so patient because I throw every kind of assessment, even though you threw the latest one back my way, is that we do not match up at all on any of the assessments we have taken. Predictive Index, Strength Finder, our Myers, you name it. And I just took the Ray Dalio principles. Those of you that might not be aware, I'm waiting for Roxana's results, but let's put my money on it. Let's bet on the horses. We are not going to be the same. But here's the thing. The way that we want to put our energy to contribute and make an impact, we are game on. And when we align to an outcome and goal that is both serving for both of us, nothing stops us. Nothing stops us. And we're two game changers too. And we don't even argue about it.
And also the thing that I love about that is that we might be working in the same company, for instance, and we are taking all of the personality assessments and everything. That doesn't help any of our managers or bosses make any business decisions based on our personality profiles, and they might be surprised if, we took the GC Index assessment as we were working together in the same company. That might come as a surprise, looking at our super different personality assessments and
our
profiles,
skills, our experience, our background, our everything. Looking at those and then seeing the result of how we make an impact in the team, in the organization, that I'm sure would have come as a big surprise to anybody, because you cannot tell. And what I'm saying is there might be a lot of people in organizations right now taking all of the personality tests out there, but nobody knows what their best contribution to the company, to the team, or why,
maybe, or why. And that comes with How do you understand how they make an impact? How do you understand how they get motivated and engaged internally, intrinsically? How do you understand what you might be getting from them and what they might contribute? Because chances are you're never asking them because you don't know. So what about, I'm super interested to understand more about how you work with this, Kristine, and looking at your profile and how
tell us
this
more.
has helped you.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, this is really foundational to the work that I do, because I want leaders to know how their people and how their teams are motivated. It's especially helpful with change management and project management, right? When you have different projects, who are you going to want on the team, right? To help you move those business initiatives forward. You know, I put on my old, turnaround hat, and you can really see my profile. So game changers are those people that love the new, the hot, the wow, which is why you guys are bringing this great show together, right? You're all interested in what's new, hot, and wow. And then I focus on the polisher piece, which is that healthy sense of dissatisfaction, right? The continuous improvement. I'm always looking to make things better. So I'm definitely hanging out over here on the creative side and wanting to bring new and better, and always trying to take things to the next level. So it makes sense to me, from being being a turnaround specialist, it was all about people, process, and technology, bringing new ideas and then taking what was there and making it even better. So love when I look at my game-changing index to where that happens. I certainly do have some energy. When you have a 4 to 6 in an area, you have some energy for that stuff. So I do have some energy for strategy, and certainly managing through others and hitting goals or hitting numbers, which are the other few proclivities. But where I really like to hang out is on the new, the cutting edge, and making things even better. So as a coach, for me, this is allowing me to develop my programs, making sure that I'm incorporating the latest and greatest of what's happening out there and what's current, what's fresh, and giving people a different take on how to get their teams to become, from taking them just from being managers to really being game-changing leaders, and bringing in all of those cool elements. And I do it with a variety of ways that we get there. But the secret sauce is really soul intelligence, which is
so
super.
Mitch is asking, what is this? This is the Game Changer Index. And this is from the GCI as a short change for that. And this measures impact energy, Mitch. And if you're interested in letting know more, we can dive into it. But here's a great one, a nugget that I think is important when we talk about this. I actually had a conversation with someone recently because I have a 2 implementer. And a lot of times when people look at this, they think that you can't implement. And that's absolutely incorrect. Because when it is driven by my game changer, and I'm about to ask you, Kristine, how that works for you, I will work till the cows come home on doing task-oriented things. It doesn't stop me, but it's highly driven from that energy of that big 7 that you guys see there. And that is an important thing to understand. It doesn't mean that you're not capable, but if you were to put me in a very mundane type of work that isn't highly creative and allowing me to be unique with the ideas about it, I will get burnt out and not want to do it. And actually, I try to find reasons not to do it in truth. And so how have you, kind of things have you learned about yourself with those areas that are lower, and what the game changer, right, really drives most of everything, just like us?
Yeah, for sure. It's wanting to focus on what I can bring, like a breath of fresh air to whatever I'm doing. So I do performance coaching. I do sales performance coaching, right? And that's about hitting numbers. That's really that lower profile, which is the red circle, which is the implementer, right? Getting things done. And so I do derive satisfaction for that if I'm teaching them a new way on how to get there, right? That really lights me up. Or if I'm looking at an existing way they're doing things and we find a new way to do it better, the polisher piece. So it's very similar. It's like through those lenses, I'm able to implement and get things done through other people and inspire others to really do those things. But it's always through that. How do we make what we've got today even better? Or how do we get something new to really impact? So, and it's interesting. That's one of the things that I'm doing in one of the sales performance coaching groups that I'm working with right now is we're looking at a new strategy on how we can bring a new technology in that's actually going to help them perform even better. So it could be it could be process, it could be technology or people development, but a combination of those three things where it's new or making something better. Yeah, that lights me up like nobody's business.
Yeah, I had a conversation with someone that doesn't know anything about the GC index. And because we have this knowledge like in our head and the tool set, it's interesting, right? You probably have had these conversations with people that, no clue. And I kept saying, yeah, you're working with them, you're putting these processes to change the behavior and actions. I said, but let's talk about where they really want to put their energy. What made that product owner actually care about building their backlog? Because why did it take months to convince them to do it?
Mm-hmm.
And these are the kind of things where I'm like, look, there is a better way to address these things, because my natural curiosity was like, does he even really want to do this? Because where is his natural energy? Right? Because now did we hit his security, his job, his financials, and that's the reason why he's changing his actions and behaviors. And I bet you when you work with leaders, you probably go, is that really the right way? Is that what we should do? Because is that really sustainable? Right? And it's funny, as I was having this type of conversation, this is why we talk about this a lot on the show and other things, is getting people a different perspective to look at things, because this is so different. All three of us are game changers. This probably
really
comes
cool.
naturally for us, right?
It's probably why we love this tool.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at, right? It was so easy to go, and it's challenging sometimes, unless they experience it themselves, and you kind of have to talk through it, that they don't get it. Mm-hmm. There is nothing else out there today like this. There isn't.
No, it's
and I love it. I love it also because clearly now I see the connection with the soul intelligence and the GC index, and how, because when you talk about that, you talk about motivation, you talk about accountability, you talk about all that good stuff that you want your people to have and that you want you yourself to have and really tap into. Like, I talked to some of the managers that I work with, and they've gone through the assessment, and they were like, okay, so now I understand why I'm being frustrated by this. Whenever I talk to somebody on my team, or whenever somebody comes to me and talks about this, it's because I'm not naturally going there. My mind, my perspective is naturally focused on something else. And that's fine. But now I know what that something is. And now I understand how other people around me are going to make a different kind of contribution. And now we can talk to each other without being frustrated that, hey, you don't understand me, you have no clue what I just said, you're not listening to me, and that kind of stuff.
And you don't have to even get to personality yet. This is what I love about it. This takes all the other labels out, and this is really just about your energy and why you go there. And I'm curious, you being a game changer, I know my stories, Roxana, I've talked our stories about kind of feeling not always fitting in, kind of the oddball out. Like, I felt that way my whole entire career life, because like I would see things that other people wouldn't see, or like my ideas and so forth. How was that like for you in your career, being a game changer polisher?
Interesting question. I found myself really struggling with the conformity of corporate America in general, right? Like all of the rules and restrictions, and, struggled with people who would say like, well, that's how we've always done it, which is typically that implementer where I've got only a 4, right?
Yeah.
Say, come on, we can do it better. Come on over here. And I've always been, people focused. right? And my favorite part of any of the work that I've done is the people development and getting them to exceed their own expectations. And I've done a number of different turnarounds. And the most fun part is when people start to see the little bit of change and start to see things impacting the business. And you get those small wins to create the bigger wins so that people can come together. So I feel very, very like blessed that throughout my whole career, I've really kind of been able to, even though I've felt like, gosh, am I out here on this island? I think I've been able to inspire hearts and minds and get people to be motivated to move through things. Even before the Game Changing Index tool came along to tell me why, I felt compelled to do that.
Yeah. And imagine, and it's not just Game Changers. This could be anybody else in this thing, that if you only knew and then be able to start working through it, why these things are happening. I would have loved to known, long time ago, of what made me so different. And I didn't mean to be a pain in the butt. It was just, look at me and look at Roxana. We are game changers through and through. There is no other thing competing with it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, I've absolutely loved our chat, and I feel like we could all just go out and have wine together if we're ever allowed to get together in person. Because this was a blast, and I'd love to do some more work with you guys together.
Awesome. And speaking of work, what are some things that we want to highlight? What's going on in our worlds here?
So let's start with Kristine.
Okay. Well, I'm offering a free 30-minute laser coaching session for any of your audience that would be interested in getting to know me and learning a little bit more about soul intelligence and how it might impact their work or their teams. Typically, I work with senior leaders who have teams that may be inconsistent or struggling, and I really work to try and help move their teams forward and get their managers to become game-changing leaders. And I'm happy to also work with senior leaders to talk to them about how we can impact their game as well. So like I said, I'm offering a free 30-minute laser coaching session, and you can just, I think we put a URL up, but you can schedule directly with me. I think we put my booking link there. So if you're feeling inspired, please go ahead and hit me up. And even if you just have questions from this chat, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, and we will always put the links. It's easy to get to in our YouTube channel, but Roxana's always better at that than me, of getting those links. So we try to find multiple ways that you can get access to it as well. That's clickable.
Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So Veronica.
So we are gearing up for the next Master Your Impact webinar series. And of course, I focus on the business agility, agile side of things. And I believe we're going to be focusing on agile transformations as our next topic and webinar. Roxana and I are brewing up something, folks. So the best way to get what's actually happening for next month's webinar is to go and subscribe now. You'll be on the newsletter, so you'll be always updated of all the latest events. And this is going to be a really cool, highly interactive one, so you don't want to miss it.
No, you don't. All right. So for my world, it's the Lead for Legacy League. So come on and join us. You can join anytime, and you can join for a month and catch online training, group coaching, mastermind, hot seats, brainstorming, all of the good things that you want to have with people that come from the management and leadership world, typically mid to senior managers and also small business CEOs. And I have people in this group right now who come from different countries, different industries, and they are confronted with very, very similar challenges and stressful situations right now. So we go through that, we talk about that, we learn a lot, we discuss a lot, and we share. And the amount of help that they're getting from me as well, but from each other too, that is absolutely crucial for them to be able to find solutions that they need right now, instead of just circling around and not really knowing where to start. So join us and see how this works for you.
Now,
Awesome.
I love how all of us that always come to the show is we're trying to make a better world in our own unique ways, right?
Exactly.
This is what I love about this show and the purpose and why we started it 6 months ago. Now, those of you that are not familiar, we have all the archive of all the shows on our YouTube channel, The Game Changing Work Show. A lot of people that because it's work, I stream live on my personal profile platform, and then we stream on Facebook, Periscope. So we're trying to make it accessible to wherever social platform you love. But here's the thing. If you want to get notified and always know what's coming up, go to the YouTube channel and subscribe and click that notify bell, and you always will know what's coming up. Now, those of you that are watching the replay, we are looking for all the comments, just like Kristine said. If you have any questions directly for her or just in general, or if you have suggested topics for us for our upcoming shows, we are all ears. So thank you guys for coming and visiting us today on the Game Changing Work Show. And thank you so much, Kristine, for
thank you. That was wonderful.
Joining us
Fun.
in our world of trying to change the future of work.
Love it. Thanks, you guys.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.